In this video, we'll uncover a case where some of her friends knew the truth all along, but kept it hidden. Texas, on April 4th, 2011. Robert Frisbee went to the police station because he couldn't find Bridget, his 17-year-old daughter. The next morning, Robert thought she had spent the night at a friend's house. When Bridget didn't come home, he got worried and called her. Robert tried everything but failed, so he went to the police station. Before we jump into the full story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more true crime content, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new case. Also, drop a comment below and tell me which country you're watching from. It's always incredible to see how far these stories travel. Now let's get into it. Bridget was born on December 17th, 1993. We don't know much about her early years because she lived in a home until Catherine Randall Frisbee and Robert Frisbee took her in when she was 18 months old. I will call Robert and Catherine Bridget's father and mother instead of her adopted parents when I talk about them. Bridget became a happy, active, and interested girl as she grew up. She liked painting, writing poems, and riding horses. Problems that followed Bridget around like a cloud from birth did not go away as she grew up, which was sad. Katie Frisbee, Bridget's mother, died after a long illness when she was 6 years old. Bridget and her dad, Robert Frisbee, were both very sad about her death. She was 49 years old when she died. Robert did everything he could to make his daughter happy. They were close and trusted each other. Bridget, on the other hand, was getting older, and her wild side sometimes showed. Teenagers riding motorbikes in the woods near Katy, Texas, on April 3, 2011, saw something strange on the ground among the trees. They chose to stop and look more closely at what they saw. In front of them, a young woman was lying on the ground. It was clear she was dead, and she had been there for a while. They told the cops that the body had been found. When the police got to the crime scene, they knew right away that the spot where the teens found the young woman was where she had died, but she didn't have any identification with her. The police had no idea who she was or how she got into the woods. Because of this, one of the agent's main jobs was to find the victim. She seemed to be about 20 years old. The experts saw a bullet hole in the back of the victim's head when they looked at the body. The exit wound on the forehead shows that the bullet went all the way through. Some 9mm gun shells were found next to the body by the cops. The shell case was the only thing that could help solve the case at that time. Investigators looked at the crime scene and saw something else that seemed odd. There was a small hole a few yards from the body. Someone had clearly taken away the dirt, but it wasn't clear if that had anything to do with the crime. The cops began talking to people who lived near the crime scene to find out what happened. The area was peaceful and woods, and people there became scared when they heard about a violent crime that happened close to their homes. The cops wanted to know if anyone had seen anything strange. For example, someone might have seen strange people or cars near their homes. It was important to have any idea. The police knocked on every door, but couldn't find anyone who had seen something strange. But a person from the area said she heard something strange the night before. Around 2 or 3 a.m., she was in the backyard with some friends. A loud bang, like a gunshot, was heard. They didn't pay much attention to it or call the cops right away because it didn't bother them. Now that I knew about the dead young woman that was found nearby, it did make me worry. So the cops thought the crime happened sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. No one else in the neighborhood gave the cops any important clues that helped them solve the case. First, the detectives had to figure out who the victim was. Most of the time, both the attacker and the target know each other. The cops could catch the criminal if they knew her name, what she did, who she was friends with, and if she had any enemies. Detectives began looking through missing person reports in an effort to find someone who fit the description of the young woman they found in the woods, but no one did. Robert Frisbee came to the police office the next day, April 4, 2011. He became worried when he heard that the cops were looking into the death of a young woman whose name they had not yet found. Robert tried to call his daughter Bridget, who was 17, but she wasn't available. He told the police that the last time he saw his daughter was 2 days ago and that he thought she was with a friend for the night. When she didn't come home, he began to worry. When the officer showed Robert pictures from the crime scene, his worst fears came true. He could see Bridget in them, which of course caused him unbearable mental pain. He lost his wife a long time ago, and now he's lost his daughter, whom he loved very much, even though she was a troublemaker. The cops asked him to describe everything that happened before he went to the police station and the last time he saw his daughter. The cops now knew the name of the victim, which gave them hope that they could quickly find the person who killed Bridget. Robert Frisby said in court that the last time he saw his daughter was April 2nd, 2011. He bought her new clothes for the rave that day: a skirt, a top, and blue-green faux fur boots. Kendall, Bridget's friend, came over in the evening and stayed for dinner. Kendall and Bridget were driven by Robert to a rave party, but it was closed. They got back home just after 10 p.m. Kendall didn't have to be picked up by his ride until midnight, so he and Bridget watched a movie. Robert went to bed and set his alarm for midnight. Bridget was still wearing her new dance outfit. She told him that Kendall's ride hadn't come yet when he woke up. Robert planned to lock the door after Kendall left. Around 3 a.m., Robert woke up to find that both the back door and the garage door were open. The man locked up so Bridget couldn't come back without him knowing. He then realized that his cell phone wasn't with him. Since he had just taken Bridget's phone, he thought she had taken his when she left. Robert called his cell phone a lot and looked online to see where the GPS on the phone was. He gave up waiting for her to come back because he couldn't reach her or find the phone. He called some of Bridget's friends the next day, but none of them knew where she was. Later that night, April 3rd, he watched on the internet that a body had been found nearby. He began to think it might be Bridget's body, so he called the police. Based on the information they got from Robert, the first person they thought might be responsible was Kendall, Bridget's friend. That being said, Robert Frisby didn't think Kendall could hurt Bridget. He told her that only one person could have a personal reason to hurt her: Jonathan Larson, her ex-boyfriend, with whom she had a troubled relationship. Larson was named as the second possible suspect. Bridget's boyfriend, Zach Richards, was also seen as a possible suspect by the police. What these three people were doing and where they were at the time of the crime had to be found. Kendall, Bridget's friend who was at Frisby's house and may have been the last person to see her living, was the first person investigators chose to talk to. Kendall had never been in trouble with the law before, so when the cops called, he agreed to meet with them. He didn't say he didn't watch TV with Bridget the night she died when he talked to police, but Kendall is said to have left Frisby's house soon after Bridget's father went to bed. He said that it wasn't his fault that Bridget died and that they were friends, so he had no reason to hurt her. This person was ready to help the police in any way they needed. He said that Bridget was mad because she had a fight with her ex-boyfriend Jonathan Larson while he and she were watching TV. After being together for a while, things got rough between them, and in the end, they broke up. Kendall's story was checked by police and seemed to be true. Despite this, he wasn't taken off the list of suspects because the case wasn't clear yet. The police then chose to talk to Jonathan Larson, whose name they had heard from a number of different people. They went to his house without telling him and hoped to catch him off guard. They weren't in for a pleasant treat, though. The house was empty. Larson's family must have rushed out of the house. The most shocking thing, though, was what the police saw when they looked out the windows. The front door and walls were full of bullet holes. It turned out that all those shots were fired at Larson's family home from a car 3 weeks before the police visit. Since nobody was hurt in the shooting, the police team that was looking into the killings didn't know about it. When someone shot up the house, the owner called the police, but the case was still open. There were only empty shells and bullet holes for the cops to find, and they had no idea who did it. Police talked to the neighbors and found out that the Larson family left the day after the drive-by killing because they did not feel safe. Now, police were trying to figure out if there was a link between Bridget Frisby's death and the shooting at her ex-boyfriend's house. Just to review, Bridget's body was found on April 3, 2011, and the drive-by killing happened 3 weeks before that. On March 14, 2011, Jonathan Larson was seen as the main suspect during the investigation, so the cops began looking for him. The school where Bridget Frisby and Jonathan Larson went was also visited by police. The people who run the school said that Jonathan hadn't been there in a few days. Since they couldn't find Jonathan, they chose to talk to Bridget's friends. What kinds of people were against her, who might want to hurt her, and if she had any enemies. Alexander Olivieri was one of the people the police talked to. He said that he and Bridget were friends, and that they got together a lot. Alexander said that the only person who could hurt Bridget was Jonathan Larson. When Alexander was asked when he last saw Bridget, he said it was planned that they would meet the night she died. They agreed to meet at her house and then take the bus to Houston to pick up Bridget's boyfriend, Zach Richards. Alex said that he and his friend Alan Perez went to Frisbee's house, but Bridget wasn't there. They agreed that she would wait for him on the street next to the house, but she was nowhere to be found. After a few hours, Alexander Olivieri and Alan Perez went back to Frisbee's house, but Bridget was still not there, he said. His word was that it was around 5 a.m. Bridget wasn't at home because she was already dead. Olivieri said that he heard about Bridget's death from the news. Because of this, after the police went to the school, Alexander Olivieri and Alan Perez were added to their list of possible suspects. But one thing stayed the same. Bridget's ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Larson, was still the main person of interest in the probe. Police found out that Jonathan's mother didn't leave the city after the drive-by shooting. Instead, she temporarily moved in with a friend. When she talked to the police, she said that after the event, she sent her son to live with relatives in Austin, Texas. The woman said her son got into a lot of trouble, and she was sure that was why their house was full of bullet holes. She thought that what happened was her way of getting back at her son. She also said that Jonathan had a fight with another man not long before the drive-by killing. She was sure that the fight and the shooting at their house had something to do with each other. This woman had a bad relationship with her son Jonathan. She had no idea where Jonathan was when Bridget Frisbee died. She gave the police the address of her family in Austin, where she said Jonathan should be. The case made a big step forward before the police even found Jonathan, though. A lawyer for the Perez family came to the police station to help them. He said that Alan Perez, one of his clients, knew important things about Bridget Frisbee's death. When the police talked to Alexander Olivieri, Bridget's friend, they had already heard the name Alan Perez. The second one then said he went to Frisbee's house with Alan Perez. Alan was now ready to give important information, but only if he agreed to stay silent about Bridget's death. The police needed to know what was going on, so they agreed to this condition. Alan Perez said there was a link between Gitette Frisbee's death and the drive-by shooting at Jonathan Larson's house. A week after Jonathan and Bridget broke up, this shooting took place. 17-year-old Alexander Olivieri helped Bridget get back at Jonathan and was the one who shot at the house. Investigators had talked to Olivieri at school before. Olivieri and Perez met in high school and joined the National Guard together. However, Olivieri started going to a different school when he got back from basic training. Perez says that Bridget is one of the new friends Olivieri made at his new school. Perez said in court that Bridget had been talking about shooting someone in a drive-by with a friend, and Olivieri had later told Perez that he was the one who shot the person. Olivieri told Perez that Bridget drove, and he used his Yugo semi-automatic weapon to shoot at the house of her ex-boyfriend. In court, Perez said that Olivieri asked him to do something for him on April 2, 2011 in the evening. Olivieri said he wanted to beat up Bridget because she told her friends about the drive-by. He also wanted Perez to be there in case something went wrong. Olivieri told Perez to bring a gun with him. Perez wore his green military outfit, mask, and gloves, and brought a .380 caliber pistol. Olivieri wore his 9mm Beretta gun on his shoulder and concealed it under his jacket. Perez says they went to Olivieri's house after midnight. Then Olivieri called Bridget and asked her to ride with him to the bus stop to get her boyfriend, Zach Richards. Bridget said no because she was busy. Olivieri chose to go to Bridget's house and told Perez to hide in the back of his Suburban under a blanket. To keep Perez quiet, Olivieri told him he wanted to get Bridget into his car. Perez had to hide under the covers. Once they got to their destination and got out of the car, Perez was supposed to keep an eye on them from afar. Bridget was leaving on her four-wheeler to meet friends when they got to her house. They picked up their things and left. After a short break, they went back to find her and saw her pushing her four-wheeler because the gas had run out. Olivieri asked her to help him find something in a cache. He finally got her to agree to go with him, even though she said no at first. She parked her four-wheeler in the shed and got into Olivieri's Suburban as a passenger. Perez was still hiding under blankets in the back of the car. He drove to the same neighborhood where he and Bridget had shot someone in a drive-by. Following them after a minute, Perez got out of the car and joined them. In front of Bridget, Olivieri was leading her with a torch, which Perez saw. Olivieri showed Bridget a place to dig and told her to begin. Perez saw Olivieri reach into his pocket, pull out his gun, put it to the back of Bridget's neck, and fire as she bent over to dig. In court, Perez said he was shocked because he thought Olivieri would threaten her or poke her with the gun, but instead, he shot her. Perez swore at Olivieri for a while as he ran towards him. He told Perez to be quiet and run to the car while he got his shovel, flashlight, and Bridget's cell phone. After leaving the crime scene, they drove to Perez's house. They smashed Bridget's phone with a shovel and hid it before they got where they were going. After that, they went back to Olivieri's house and put everything from the Suburban in Alexander's room. Perez said that he and Olivieri went to the bus stop around 4 a.m. to pick up Zach Richards, Bridget's boyfriend. Richards agreed to spend the night at Perez's house, so the three of them drove there and went to sleep. They didn't say anything about the crime to Richards. Olivieri told Perez that they had to lie for each other. Perez had to tell the cops that he stayed at Olivieri's house, hung out, and watched a movie with him. After that, he and Olivieri went to pick up Richards together. Alexander Olivieri told him that they wouldn't be in any danger if they both said the same thing and gave each other an excuse. Olivieri also told Perez that he was going to get rid of the gun he used to kill Bridget. She was mad that Jonathan Larson, who she was seeing, had cheated on her with someone else. Then Olivieri said he would get back at him by shooting at his house, but he didn't know what would happen next. Olivieri was very afraid about Bridget because she told everyone about the drive-by shooting. His plans might not work out after this. He wanted to join the service, but his dream was now in danger. That's why he did everything he could to get Bridget to be quiet. He thought that killing Bridget Frisbee was the only way out of this problem. As the cops looked into this case, they heard Bridget's boyfriend, Zach Richards' name a few times. That's why they chose to talk to him. They were wondering if Richards would back up Alan Perez's story or if Perez was trying to get out of being responsible. It looked like things were not making sense. Richards, Bridget's boyfriend, said that Alexander Olivieri told him in March 2011 that he had to take care of something, grabbed his AK-47, and drove off with Bridget in her car. Afterward, Olivieri told Richards that he had shot at Bridget's ex-boyfriend's house from her car as she drove by. Officer Olivieri told Richards that he took part in the drive-by because he could, and to help Bridget. During the trial, Richards said that Olivieri got angry with Bridget for bragging about the killing and told her to stop. Olivieri agreed on April 3, 2011 to take Bridget to the Houston bus stop around 1 a.m. so he could pick up Richards. When Olivieri didn't show up, Richards got a ride to Denny's and called Olivieri at around 2:30 or 3 a.m. Olivieri told him he would pick him up even though he was at home. Alexander finally showed up, but he was several hours late. Perez was with him. Olivieri told Richards that he tried to get in touch with Bridget and went to her house, but she wasn't there when he called. After a few hours of sleep, Richards says he went to Bridget's place. When she got home, her dad told her that Bridget had been out all night and he had no idea where she was. Over the next few days, Richards tried to find her through friends until he heard that her body had been found. Richards told the police that he and Bridget and Olivieri had been in the woods, which are now a crime scene before. He said that Olivieri knew this area well, and that the fact that Olivieri always had a gun with him was not strange. That being said, all signs pointed to Alexander Olivieri being the one who killed Bridget Frisbee. It was 4 days after she died before Olivieri was arrested by the cops. Because the suspect had a lot of different kinds of weapons and knew how to use them well, the police asked the SWAT team to help them catch him. The SWAT team got to work as soon as the monitoring team confirmed that Alexander Olivieri was at home. Luckily, they didn't have to use guns because Olivieri gave up without a fight. He was calm and didn't show any emotion. He knew why he was being held, but denied having anything to do with Bridget Frisbee's death. Samuel Olivieri, Alexander's dad, agreed that the house and car could be searched. The cops did not find the AK-47 or the Beretta, but they did find the manual for a 9mm Beretta pistol. The shell case found at the crime scene matched it. Police found a blanket, a shovel, a rifle, and shotgun shell casings in Olivieri's Suburban. They also found trace evidence samples such as fibers from the passenger seat and floorboard. The bullet casing from the Suburban matched the one found at Larson's house after the drive-by killing, according to tests of ballistics. What was taken from the passenger seat of the car matched Bridget's new Rave faux fur outfit, which is what her father saw her in for the last time on April 2nd night. As Alexander Olivieri was being tried, he said that he did not see Bridget the night she was killed. The defense of Olivieri said that fibers found in their client's car that matched the fibers of Bridget's new Rave fake outfit got there a few weeks before she died. But this version did not work. At the trial, Robert Frisby showed proof from his credit card account that Bridget's outfit was bought on April 2, 2011. She died a few hours later, which proves that Bridget was in Olivieri's car before she died. This proves that he lied when he said he hadn't seen her that night. The film that was viewed by the court was released on YouTube in 2010, approximately a year before to Bridget's passing. It featured Alexander Olivieri brandishing a Beretta pistol among other firearms. This video was titled "Me and My Beretta 9mm." In court, Alan Perez stated that the tape featured the identical firearm that Olivieri used to murder Bridget. On August 1, 2012, Alexander Olivieri was sentenced to 60 years in jail. Robert Frisby believes Olivieri will remain incarcerated for at least 50 years, but he will be free to leave after 30 years. He stated, "This man needs to spend the rest of his life off the streets. It's important that he is off the streets. He will be a damaged man upon his release after spending so many years in a tiny cell." Thanks for watching this true crime case. If you found it interesting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Stay safe and see you in the next one.